What are the differences between Barristan Selmy in Game of Thrones and the A Song of Ice and Fire books? Why does he get shanked in the show, and why is he about to lead an army into battle in the books? This is the real Barristan. Feel free to drop a sub for more videos like this. Let's start with Barry from the show. From the Histories and Lore animated videos, we learn that he fought in the War of the Ninepenny Kings and slew Maelys Blackfyre. Bobby B and the lads share war stories in Season 1, and Barristan claims his first kill was piercing a Tyroshi soldier through the heart with a lance. One of the villainous band of 9 was a Tyroshi merchant named Alequo Adaris, who became the Tyrant of Tyrosh, so Barristan must have slain one of his men during the Ninepenny Kings. A young Jaime Lannister squired for Barristan, who was now on the Kingsguard. Jaime describes him as a painter who only used red in Season 2, and explains how he slew the outlaw Simon Toyne with a counter riposte in Season 1. Barristan knighted his squire after they defeated the Kingswood Brotherhood. After Robert's rebellion, Barristan became the new King's Lord Commander. Throughout Season 1, Barristan serves dutifully as a Kingsguard. He does a lot of standing around in this show. Get that paycheck, Barry. Despite being Lord Commander of the Kingsguard and therefore deserving of a council position on the small council, Barristan isn't present in any council scenes. In Season 3, he tells Jorah that Robert barred him from the council because he saw him as just a bodyguard. You didn't even attend the council. Why'd you have beef with Barristan? The Lord Commander stands vigil over Sir Hugh of the Vale, who was killed by Sir Gregor Clegane, and Ned Stark questions him about the man's suspicious death. The two men have mutual respect for each other, complementing each other's martial abilities. After all, Ned Stark is more of a military badass in the show than he is in the books. Barristan later joins Robert's awkward horseless hunt in which the boar gores Bobby B, and he believes he's failed his king. No matter, there's a new monarch, and his name is Joffrey. He hands the late Robert's decree to Cersei, who tears it up.
Those were the king's words.
As if things weren't bad enough, the Lannisters attempt to expand their power base. Joffrey dismisses Barristan from the Kingsguard for being old and failing to protect Robert. The true reason for this, of course, is to name Sir Jaime Lannister as the new Lord Commander, and to plug the gap with Joffrey's loyal hound, Sandor Clegane. Varys offers the old knight a keep and some servants. That's nice. The proud man isn't happy, however, and wrenches off his armour in defiance, but gets roasted by Littlefinger.
A naked knight, apparently.
Barristan draws his sword and spits absolute fire.
Even now I could cut through the 5 of you like carving a cake.
Melt it down and add it to the others. He's gone for Season 2, but then reappears at the start of Season 3. In the city of Astapor, a child warlock person thing, can't wait for that thread to come back, tries to assassinate Daenerys with a manticore, but it's slain by Barry. He's grown a sexy white beard, but Jorah Mormont recognises him. He instantly reveals himself and pledges his service, joining her Queensguard. From here on, Barristan acts as the voice of honour and idealism on Dany's shoulder, in contrast to Jorah's rougher, more pragmatic approach. He's not happy about Daenerys considering the purchase of slave soldiers, so he evokes Rhaegar fighting at the Battle of the Trident, surrounded by men who loved him and believed in him, not men who were owned by him. The peasant levies might disagree, but there we go. Jorah points out that Rhaegar lost that battle. This won't be the first time Barristan speaks fondly of Rhaegar. Barristan eventually supports Dany's switcheroo and rides with her out of the city, with her army of freed unsullied. Barry and Joe later have a discussion about honour. For the old knight, a sworn Kingsguard must keep his vows no matter who he's serving, be that a drunk like Robert or a madman like Aerys. This later becomes relevant to his character arc when, oh wait, no it doesn't. Dany meets with the captains of the Second Sons, Mero, Dario, and Prendal Nargezen? Damn, I didn't add him to the Smash'll Pass. Barry is grossed out by Mero and says he'd gladly kill him on Dany's orders. Later, the Targ team conduct a plan to infiltrate Yunkai. Barristan wants to join Jorah, Grey Worm and Dario, but he's advised to stay behind and protect Daenerys. The infiltration is a success, and he witnesses the aesthetically questionable outpouring of support for his queen. We start off Season 4 with our favourite duo, Barry and Joe, who direct Dany to Grey Worm and, oh god, new Dario. The jump scare always gets me. When they reach the gates of Meereen, the Masters send a champion to face them. Barristan offers to fight him himself, but Dany denies him, choosing Dario instead. When Dany rounds up the Masters to crucify them, Barristan advises her to show mercy, but she refuses. Ah, foreshadowing. There's a direct line from this to this, somehow. I guess. Anyway, unlike Robert, Dany actually includes her Lord Commander in council meetings. He believes Dany should invade Westeros with her unsullied and sellsword armies. After all, the armies of Westeros are weakened following the War of the Five Kings. The Crown won't be expecting a surprise invasion, and many houses will side with her anyway. Instead, Dany decides to stay in Meereen and learn to rule. The small council of the Crown finally learn from Varys that Barristan Selmy is one of Dany's advisors. Tywin scolds Cersei for dismissing him. Barry had a great reputation and was a competent guy. Joffrey certainly didn't die under his watch. Robert did though, so I think Tywin has a selective memory here. The Crown seeks to sow division. A boy gives Barry a scroll bearing the seal of the hand of the king, a royal pardon signed by Robert. Barry reads it and realizes Jorah is a spy.
I'm the spy.
He stands solemnly beside his queen when Jorah is banished from Meereen. We've explored the first 4 seasons, now let's jump into the first 3 books they're adapted from. Naturally, Book Barristan's backstory is more detailed. Barristan was born to Sir Lionel Selmy, the Knight of Harvest Hall, from the Dornish marches in the Stormlands. He proved to be an impressive child. He squired for Lord Manfred Swan, and at just 10 years of age, entered a Blackhaven tourney as a mystery knight. No one wanted to joust the tiny knight, except Prince Duncan Targaryen, who nicknamed him Barristan the Bold. At the age of 16, he again disguised himself and entered the winter tourney at King's Landing, unhorsing 2 Duncans, the Targaryen prince and the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. As a result, he was knighted by King Aegon V. He took his tourney skills to the War of the Ninepenny Kings, where he slew King Maelys the Monstrous, the final Blackfire pretender. Barristan the Bold's reputation exploded across the realm. As a young man of 23, he was named to the Kingsguard by King Jaehaerys II, swearing his vows before Sir Gerald Hightower. After Jaehaerys died, he began to serve King Aerys II. His actions in 277 AC may have influenced the entire fate of the Seven Kingdoms. Lord Dennis Darklyn of Duskendale tricked and captured Aerys, killing the Kingsguard knight Sir Gwaine Gaunt in the process. Lots of alliteration there. The king was held hostage for half a year, until the Lord Hand Tywin Lannister decided to storm the castle. But he gave Barristan 1 day to save Aerys himself. The knight scaled the walls of Duskendale, freed Aerys from the dungeons, and slew Sir Simon Hollard while trying to escape from the stables. He took an arrow to the chest, but saved a king. House Darklyn and Hollard were, of course, utterly destroyed by the Mad Monarch. His next major deed involved the Kingswood Brotherhood, a band of outlaws roaming the Crownlands. Barristan rescued Lady Jane Swan and her scepter, and slew the rebel leader Simon Toyne. Although Jaime took part in fighting the Brotherhood, he was serving as Lord Sumner Craighall's squire, not as Barristan's squire. During Robert's rebellion, Barristan was nearly killed during the Battle of the Trident. Lord Roose Bolton urged the knight's throat to be cut, but Robert Baratheon instead demanded his wounds be treated by a maester. Barristan was pardoned, and he became Robert's Lord Commander, although he was not happy with the death of the Targaryen children, or about the Kingslayer being added to Robert's Kingsguard. This was not the last time he saw combat, however. Barristan led the attack on Old Wick during the Greyjoy Rebellion. Now on to a Game of Thrones. Like in the show, Barristan is a respected, honourable, older man. Unlike in the show, Barristan travels to the inn at the crossroads with Renly Baratheon and Ilyn Payne to escort Robert Baratheon's procession down to King's Landing. Despite his age, he actually partakes in the Hand's tourney, unhorsing 2 knights before being defeated by Sir Jaime Lannister. He later joins Ned in persuading Robert against joining the melee, unlike in the show where it's just Ned. That's a shame, but to be fair, there's no breastplate stretcher in the books, so it all evens out. As all Lord Commanders of the Kingsguard must, Barristan attends small council sessions. Along with Ned, he protests the assassination plot against the pregnant exile Daenerys Targaryen. Like in the show, Barristan accompanies Robert on his glorious hunt, horses included of course, and witnesses the Great Boar Battle of 198 AC. He's dismissed from the Kingsguard, gets roasted by Littlefinger for stripping, draws his sword, and says the famous line, "Even now I could cut through the 5 of you as easy as a dagger cuts cheese." Yeah, that one's not as cool. We later learn that Barristan entered the White Sword Tower to record his own dismissal in the White Book, and while trying to leave the city was attacked by Janos Slynt and 3 Goldcloaks. He evades them of course, but their murder attempt isn't enough to stop him returning to the city disguised as a cloaked commoner. He witnesses Ned's execution firsthand, and decides to find a true monarch to serve. Interestingly, it's later revealed that Varys suggested Barristan's dismissal, perhaps to push him into the arms of Dany, or young Griff, or whoever, I don't know, his schemes are very inconsistent. Check out the real Varys here, I guess. In A Clash of Kings, Renly is ready for Barristan to show up and support him, but he never does. He doesn't show up for Stannis either, or Robb, or even Balon. Big surprise there, I really thought he would be a Balon Greyjoy stan. On a completely unrelated note, an old bearded man named Arstan Whitebeard saves Daenerys from a manticore, although it's given to her by a sorrowful man assassin, not a warlock child. His trusty companion is the large eunuch Strong Belwas. They want to bring her back to Pentos. Wait a second, that guy looks familiar. Moving on to A Storm of Swords. Keeping Barristan's identity secret in the show doesn't really make sense. You can tell immediately that it's him. In the book, however, he does have a secret identity, Arstan Whitebeard. Turns out he decided to support Viserys Targaryen, so travelled to Pentos to meet Illyrio Mopatis. With Vizzy dead, however, Illyrio sends him to meet Dany in Karth. Why isn't he sent to serve young Griff? I don't know, just trust the plan. Trust the plan. Daenerys doesn't want to travel back to Pentos. She wants to sail to Astapor to buy an unsullied army. Like in the show, he talks to her of the Mad King Aerys and the glorious Prince Rhaegar, and advises her against buying a slave army. Unlike the show, however, he doesn't offer to fight Meereen's champion, instead keeping up his disguise as a harmless old man. But this disguise is soon blown. The sellsword captain Miro tries to kill Daenerys, but is knocked down by the old man and his staff. He's forced to reveal himself as Ser Barristan the Bold. He claims the secret identity was to prevent the Lannisters from discovering that he had joined Daenerys. As someone who attended the small council meetings, he's also aware straight away that Jorah is a spy, and exposes him. Daenerys, surrounded by liars, sends Arstan, Belwas and Jorah to sneak into Meereen through the sewers to free slaves. Part of her hopes they die in the process, but they're successful. Barristan admits the full truth. He hid his identity because he wanted to wait and see if Dany showed any signs of Targaryen madness. In his mind, she hasn't, and he is happy to serve. The Queen accepts him into her Queen's Guard, but banishes Jorah. Back to the show. As I seem to say in all of my videos, Season 5 is where things really diverge. The Sons of the Harpy are running rampant in Meereen. Dany wants the murdered Unsullied, White Rat, to be given a public funeral, but Barristan warns her it will anger the Sons even more. That's right, Barry, just give in to the terrorists. He also counsels her to give the captured Son of the Harpy a fair trial. He gives her the talk about Aerys, confirming that no, it's not just fake Lannister news, Aerys was in fact mad and cruel. Barry is clearly concerned that Dany will follow a similar path. He eventually persuades her to provide a fair trial, which never happens because Mossador kills him in his cell. Remember Mossador? Remember him? I certainly do not. Having roasted the Mad King, Barristan decides to simp over Rhaegar. He tells tales of a handsome prince singing to the small folk with his harp, collecting money and donating it to orphanages. He paints a picture of a gentle, artistic soul, in contrast to Dany's simplistic image of him as a strong warrior prince. What a lovely tale. Why are you saying this now though? Why are you saying such a lovely, humanizing... Barry? Are you good, Barry? The bells are ringing, Barry. You want to check that out? Oh look, it's an ambush. The Sons of the Harpy are slaughtering an entire squad of Unsullied. Ser Barristan the Bold comes to the rescue, slicing through those damn terrorists. Afterwards, he reminisces about Ashara Dane, and when the siege of Meereen begins... Oh, wait, why is he still fighting? Wait, no, get out of there! Barry, no! Ser Barristan Selmy is murdered at the hands of slave-owning incels in Halloween masks wielding kitchen knives. His body is laid to rest in the Great Pyramid of Meereen. Maybe this will teach literally everyone in Meereen to wear some fucking armor. In the last episode of Season 8, we see Brienne going through the Book of Brothers, and we catch a glimpse of Barristan's pages. Oh, that's nice. That's a nice touch. That's a nice little... Back to the books. In A Dance with Dragons, Barristan is officially the Lord Commander of the Queen's Guard, complete with shaved face and white gold drip. As in the show, Barristan is the voice of honour in Dany's ear, in contrast to Daario's roguishness, and wants her to leave Meereen to invade Westeros. While living in Meereen, he teaches noble boys, such as Grazhar Zogalere, in Westerosi chivalry, and trains former slaves in combat. The best, including Tumco Lo, Larak and the Red Lamb, become his new squires. Barristan is a man of action and tradition. He believes Dany should meet the advancing army of Yunkai in the battlefield, and fears that a marriage to Hizdahr zo Loraq would damage her chances of taking the Iron Throne. In fact, he supports her marriage to Quentyn Martell, but she goes for Loraq instead. I don't blame her. Look at that hair. This is the first book where Barristan actually becomes a point of view character. We learned that he was in love with the beautiful Ashara Dane, who was in her teens when he was in his 40s, which is romantically tragic and not at all weird and creepy. He wanted to win the tourney of Harrenhal and crown her the Queen of Love and Beauty, but Rhaegar won instead and crowned Lyanna Stark, eventually leading to Robert's Rebellion. If he had only won the tourney. If he had only won her heart. After Drogon's attack on Daznak's pit and Dany's escape, a power vacuum opens up, and Hizdahr seizes it. Because the Yunkai Wisemaster, Yurkhaz zo Yunzak, died in the Dragon Pit, the sellsword captain Bloodbeard presents the court of Meereen with the head of Groleo, Dany's admiral and a hostage of Yunkai. Barristan wants to slay the cutthroat, but refuses to break the Queen's peace. Believing that Hizdahr tried to poison Daenerys, Barristan works with Skarhaz Mo Kandak and the Brazen Beasts to arrest him, but not before slaying his protector, Kraz. Barristan becomes the new Hand of the Queen and tasks two of Quentyn Martell's friends, Sir Jaehaerys Drinkwater and Sir Archibald Ironwood, to negotiate with the sellsword captain known as the Tattered Prince, granting him the city of Pentos in return for his support. Yeah, the books are pretty fucking different, aren't they? Okay, let's get meta. Why is Barristan killed so early on in the show, when he isn't even dead in the books? His death certainly drives the plot forwards, pushing Daenerys into getting revenge and executing Great Masters, which she regrets, so she opens fighting pits and marries Hizdar zo Loraq. Okay, no, I don't think his death was necessary for any of that. Well, it certainly narrows down the cast of characters, but in my opinion, Barristan is 100 times more interesting than Grey Worm or Missandei. Oh right, they're young and hot, and he's an old man. I guess HBO didn't want him to stick around. His role in the show is that of a wise, honourable counsellor. He is always advising Dany to do the fair thing, the honourable thing, the restrained thing. Getting rid of him opens up the doorway for Daenerys to go in a more ruthless direction, building up to the Mad Queen incident. But he's basically replaced by Tyrion, who's just a neutered little cuck who serves the same role as Barry, except he's more stupid. To get rid of Barry, you needed to replace him with a malevolent presence. The only advice Dany gets that actually pushes her to ruthlessness is one line from Olenna Tyrell.
You're a dragon. Be a dragon.
And one word from Missandei.
Dracarys!
And then there's the letter controversy. The actor Ian McElhenney found out about his death and, being a huge fan of the books and expecting his arc to continue, wrote Benioff and Weiss a letter begging them not to kill Barristan. D&D later referenced receiving a letter from an actor who didn't want to die and how that made them want to kill him even more. I think people take what was obviously meant to be a joke a bit too seriously, but it's still kind of disrespectful to Ian McElhenney in my opinion. He's like the only actor who read the books. Poor man.
But I hate to tell you that unfortunately Barristan is gone.
No!
Ser Barristan Selmy is still alive by the end of the final book. Meereen is in chaos, he's the Hand, he's allied with a slimy shavepate who's clearly conducting a coup, and the city is being besieged by the Masters of Yunkai and their bizarre assortment of slave soldiers. He has a couple of sample chapters for the Winds of Winter, and there's a whole slew of theories about how the upcoming battle will commence, which I'll be breaking down in my next video, the Battle of Fire. If he survived this battle, he may continue to serve as Dany's Lord Commander and join her as she invades Westeros, perhaps even making it to the Long Night. Or maybe he'll become disillusioned with yet another monarch and flee to pledge his support to young Griff instead. After all, Dany's present and future allies are looking increasingly villainous, and Aegon Targaryen is being set up as the perfect young king. Perhaps the perfect king needs an old knight with a bold reputation. Thanks for watching. If you want more animated fantasy content like this, check out the Patreon and the merch. The links are in the description below. Special thanks to all my patrons, in particular Andre, Caden, Colshot, Devcole, Itchaboi and Morphy. See you next time.